With the right kind of practice, is it possible for anyone to hit the highest rank in Overwatch? I play a lot of ranked, and after nearly 7,000 hours of playtime, I've managed to peak Grandmaster. But for some reason, no matter what new heights I reach, I always seem to fall back to Diamond. A lot of people have told me that it's elo hell, and I'm just unlucky, and plenty others have said that I simply don't have what it takes to hang in higher ranks. I don't think that either of these things are true, but if things continue as they are now, I may never escape low. In this series, with the help of some friends, I'll be doing everything it takes in order to climb. That means aim training, VOD reviewing, watching pro matches, and getting a lot of coaching. This is Skill Ceiling, the series where I intend to prove that anybody can hit champ, as long as they have enough time on their hands. I just want to make like a quick disclaimer to you guys, really quick before we get in game. My mentality for aim coaching is that my aim is fine. I could pretty easily get like mid GM with my aim. That doesn't mean my aim is good, and my aim really, it's certainly not doing me any favors, but my aim is fine. You do not need this step to hit champ, in my opinion. But boy, wouldn't it be nice if I had better aim. As we climb, having good aim and just being able to win aim duels would be really freaking nice. While I do understand and sort of like agree with the sentiment, aim isn't like really the problem and that there are like better places to focus your attention, Matty is really going out of his way to do me and everybody who cares about improving a big favor here with this coaching. Let's make sure to be respectful and to be kind, and yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. No, yeah, I get it. Okay. Hi, okay, Matty, before we begin, would you like to give like a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Okay, so hello, Sunshine Chat. I am Mattyow. I am an aim coach. I work for Voltaic AMP program, and we do coaching for professional players across the FPS genre. We mainly focus on like Valorant and stuff and Counter-Strike, but I'm like their sort of designated Overwatch coach. I have freaking 7,000 hours on KovaaKs and aim trainers.
What? Okay, do you AFK some of those hours?
People always ask like that. I don't AFK.
Matty, I'm a Masters player. How far can aiming really take you? Could I get to GM off of fixing my aim alone? I think a lot of people, including me, kind of say that aim training, spending your time, getting aim coaching, whatever, it's kind of bait compared to just like improving at the game.
Have you seen my Twitter post?
Oh, yes, Matty, I've seen your Twitter post.
I'm like freaking, I'm brain dead. So I don't play this game like with my brain on. Like I watched the previous episode you had out with Hadi. I don't internalize any of that stuff. And I was able to get like not just GM, I was able to get myself at least into champ.
Okay.
And obviously our goal is pretty self-explanatory. It's hit champ with champ level mechanics. Before I actually like go into any of this stuff, how much do you know like about aim and FPS mechanics?
So I have 750 hours in KovaaKs, but a lot of that was from like way back when, and I'm not really thinking about aim theory a lot. Like the more that I play the game, the more that I try to put less. Like I'm not thinking I lost this fight because I have bad counter strafing, or I'm lumping in like movement with like aim because it's all mechanics. I'm not thinking I'm losing this fight. I have bad counter strafing. I'm thinking, oh, I lost this fight because this was a disadvantaged fight for me. But I do watch you, and I watch Niche, and I watch I think Viscose occasionally. So I'm like vaguely familiar with aiming stuff.
It's good that you're not really focusing on that. Like if you're trying like in your rank up game, for example, you shouldn't be, that shouldn't be the main focus. As aim coaches, we like to encourage setting aside 1 or 2 games maybe where you do specifically focus on that, and it's just sort of compartmentalizing or like isolating the actual skill itself so that you can get the most improvement out of it. But generally, when we talk about mechanics in Overwatch, so you know that in Overwatch there's the skill triad of game sense, positioning, and mechanics. And so mechanics, that's generally what I focus on, but that more so can be broken down into aim and movement. Where I fall in, this is where KovaaKs falls in. That's usually referred to as raw mouse control. This is what KovaaKs trains. That's not the entire part of the equation, because movement, right, can change the position of your crosshair with WSD. You can use your movement to aim. Do you know the difference between strafing and dodging?
No.
Okay. What do you think is the difference between these two things?
I've never heard these as separate things ever before in my entire life. I mean, okay, I imagine just from like having a brain that dodging is you're actively trying to dodge the enemy, where strafing is you're using your movement to like get where you want on the map and make your shots easier to hit.
Exactly. That right at the end is exactly what strafing is. So strafing or strafe aim, that's when you are moving in a specific way to make aiming easier for you. And then dodging is specifically to make aiming easier for your or harder for your opponent. Tied to this is something called geometric positioning.
Like playing high ground?
It's specifically, when we think of the skill triad, it's mechanics, game sense, positioning, but that's positioning referring to like flanking or specific to your role.
Sure.
Geometric positioning is like the micro micro version of that.
Right,
It's
this is like using the environment to make
Exactly.
fights harder for the enemy.
It's like minimizing your hitbox. So you said playing on high ground, for example. Let's say that this is you're on high ground here. You're not gonna be on the edge of the high ground standing over there. You're gonna try to play back on the high ground to minimize your hitbox. But I specialize here, and this is mostly what we're gonna be talking about, and this is what's gonna pertain to the KovaaKs routine that I give you. So this first one that I want to point out, and I'm just gonna slow this down, play it once at least. And like the first question I have here is, so you saw right there, you kind of just like, you completely stopped shooting there. Was
Yeah.
that you lining up your shot? And,
Yeah,
like,
that was me locking. I'm zoning in because something that was brought up to me before was that I've really been rushing my shots as Sojourn. I see that I have full rail. I see their Juno is trolling. I know that if I just need to take a second to chill, and it will make the shot a lot easier to hit.
That's a good mentality. I just think with Sojourn, you don't necessarily have to stop shooting your. Okay, do you do the swap between primary and secondary fire? Like, is your railgun left click?
Okay, I think that's a really good question, and we should probably get this out of the way right now. Maddie, you are familiar with the rhythm game Osu, right?
Oh God. Yes.
You know how people who play Osu, they don't click their mouse to shoot the circle. They type maybe the X and the C key on their keyboard, so that they're able to click faster and it doesn't put like pressure on like their hand.
Yes.
And recently I identified that a problem with my aiming was that I flick off target a lot. And I was thinking that it's possible that I flick off target because when I push mouse 1, my whole arm moves and it shakes. And so in an attempt to resolve that, I did put rail on spacebar. I shoot my with spacebar on my keyboard.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't like another key, like you said X or Z. Like I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad it's spacebar. You know, there's a very ancient Quake pro who also uses spacebar.
Really? So you're fine with it, actually? You're okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay with it as long as your left hand is not actually like, as long as it's not inhibited by you using that key.
Thank you.
That gets that out of the way. But anyways, you can keep shooting her with the projectiles just to continue getting her low before you take the shot, because you know Sojourn Rail on its own isn't going to kill anymore. So you had the right idea, or you're on the right track with trying to make the shot easier for yourself by calming down and like trying to line it up. That's the aim side of it. So one thing that I wrote in the document is that you have generally good starting baseline mouse control. You are pretty smooth with your overall motions and with overall sweeps, but in this case, this is a movement error. So I want you to look like very closely here. I'm gonna slow it down to 0.25. So what you're doing here is mirroring, and I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of this already. When you trace, or like when you go in the same direction that the target's moving on your screen, that's mirroring. And that is a good thing to do here. But I think you might have gotten a little bit hesitant because then you just stopped mirroring. And this was, I assume, to close the distance because you noticed your crosshair was out here a little bit. Then you took the adjustment anyways towards the left. I think that there's a mismatch here between how you want to move and how you want to aim. Because if you were going to close that distance by anti-mirroring and your crosshair was already to the left, you didn't need to make an adjustment left. That distance was already going to be closed.
Okay, so you think I'm doing too much right now?
You were probably like trying to sync up your movement and your aim, and that's why on the document I have it listed as a aim movement desync. You need to like commit to a decision with your movement and commit to a decision at the same time with your aim. I think initially here too, this is just A and W movement, right? You're just tapping A and D. You know you can go like backwards too. If you're mirroring, you can do A and S. If your crosshair is ahead of the target like this Juno, she's moving to the left here. So if we backed up here, what does that do, right? It's slowing us down with respect to her position. So our crosshair would have naturally drifted into her position.
I see.
So that's why you want to incorporate diagonals, because then you can play around with these velocity changes to actually like just allow yourself to aim with your movement instead of having to make a adjustment with your mouse, because you notice that you flick off target a lot, and that could be a result of you microing too much. I'm sure you've seen Quartz, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the Juno, with the previous clip, your movement was kind of sporadic. You weren't really like in sync. Notice what Quartz does here. In any position where the target isn't directly looking at you, right?
Mhm.
Hisang is focusing on Simple over here, Kiriko. You can essentially just stand still
Right.
and
I
stop
see.
moving. And this is something that you will see if you watch Lip. This is something that you'll see if you watch Exodial. You'll see it, and you're seeing it right here if you watch Quartz. If they're not looking at you, what's the point in dodging anything? Even if it's like a projectile character too. What is the point in dodging this massive projectile that has a high AoE? Right when you take the railgun shot, why not just stand still? Like you're
This is
working on?
actually something I get criticized for a lot, which is very true. Sometimes there's nobody looking at me, but I'm still dodging. I'm wiggling around because I'm scared. And I think maybe it comes from a lack of awareness that they're not looking at me.
Maybe you've seen this player. You will see this guy just stand still for like an entire fight or an entire duel because the guy's not even looking at him and he's free to stand still. It's all about just being like extremely mindful with your movement.
Yeah, you're just making the shot as easy as possible.
Right? The underdog movement is just standing still. All right, so let me rewind a bit. Walk me through like your situation here and your thought process.
So I'm chilling. My monkey's in. I know that he has primal. He's going. I'm looking for a kill with rail. I shoot ball for fun. Now I have no aura, and my monkey explodes. Okay, I mean, Maddie, I'm just trolling this fight. I mean, what's happening here, like right now, is the fight is over. So like I'm inting, like to reset, so I catch the wave with my team. Is that like what you're talking about? Or are you talking about like the beginning of the fight?
Right here. I just.
I'm
like, okay, if you were
resetting.
hinting
I'm
at just, like-
resetting, and I'm trying to trade.
Yeah, you're just resetting?
Yeah,
Okay.
in fact, I could have done this better. I should have gone for the Juno instead of the Hanzo. But right now, I'm genuinely just trying to respawn at the same time as my team. The fight was lost probably around the time I used the rail on the wrecking ball for no reason.
As an aim coach, we like to isolate these moments and say like, okay, let's pretend that we're like actually trying to make a winning play here. Even though in the back of our mind, we know the fight's lost. I take issue here with how we're strafing against this Hanzo. So our Winston's dead. We decide to jump in here. And again, we do the jump with the slide. I think unfortunately we have a habit of jumping. Like it's more.
You
it's more
actually
like,
think it's bad to jump slider?
against specifically this Hanzo, if he were farther away, it would be really bad to jump
Right.
slide here.
But yeah,
because
but-
it's so readable.
I do agree with that, but I think here, I think it's pretty fine. I think it's a very hard shot for him to hit when I'm jumping on top of his head.
Yeah, it's okay here. I would just like. I'm just saying in general, like even this is almost like I'm kind of cherry picking this point, but we do jump.
I have
quite
to
a
stop
bit,
jumping
even-
after sliding.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I get it. I agree with you. I have to stop jumping after sliding. Here, maybe it's
Yeah.
fine, but in general, it just makes me free.
Yeah, so but that's just one thing. That's the first half.
Mhm.
This was all right since it was disorienting him, so he kind of just didn't know what you were doing. You were overhead.
Mhm.
But here, we enter more of just AD spam. Notice the length of this strafe. The word with the strafe, it's so consistent. It's very uniform strafing. You're just tapping them over and over. This is just classic AD spamming. Why is that bad against specifically a Hanzo shooting you?
In a Hanzo, he can just aim in the middle, and
Right.
he'll kill me.
Or he doesn't even have to strictly aim right here. His arrows are freaking massive tree trunks that can. He has this whole cone of like wiggle room that he can just shoot an arrow and he will hit you. You're also discorded, so I think the Zen's also looking at you and shooting you. You got two projectile characters that rely entirely on you having a tight strafing hitbox to kill you. Have you heard of this idea of wall licks?
Nope. Go ahead.
In Overwatch, when you run up against the wall, your character's animation slows down, but it keeps going, right? Something that I would have maybe tried to do here is instead of having a uniform AD spam, I would have played closer to the wall and like ran into the wall
What?
once or a few times.
Interesting. Why?
If the Hanzo is needing to predict, say you're going this way, he needs to aim ahead of where he thinks you're going. So he's going to be aiming here. You can stop your strafe around here and he'll miss. You're playing a mind game if you play near the wall and you try to like have a bias towards the wall. You're gonna run into this and he's gonna think, oh, there's a wall here. So positioning wise, you have nowhere left to go. You have to strafe away from the wall at some point. So he's gonna aim out here. Here's an example where you actually did something with movement that was very close to what I'm describing here. What do you think you are doing well here? This is a good movement example. What do you think you're doing correctly? So you slide over here, you caught off guard, and now you're stuck here. What do you think you're doing correctly?
I mean, I'm using cover. Oh, wow. See, I
Yeah,
don't see
cover.
any
This is
movement
smart.
stuff at all. This is very interesting. I'm not looking at anything. Okay, they're shooting me, and I'm dodging, right? Like I'm weaving. I'm like using cover. I'm wiggling around, and then I'm leaving.
I'm gonna slow it down.
Sure.
You land yourself in a really weird position.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm strafing. I'm using cover.
Look where their shots are going. Like one more arrow.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, maybe you'll see it if I go to his POV.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there I am on the screen.
Look where his crosshair is.
Oh, I'm baiting him so hard! I'm actually baiting him so hard.
Through that movement, what I'm describing here, and this is something that I do a ton, is where is your one direction of escape? Where is safety?
It is towards my team, so to the left.
Yes, he knows that.
Yes.
He knows that this is where you have to go or you just die. You have a bias in this direction.
Of course.
But it's also you're playing the way you dodged here, and I don't know if you did this, and you probably definitely didn't do this intentionally. You're setting a false bias towards your team because he thinks that that is your way of getting out of this weird situation that you put yourself in. His crosshair is out here, and he's like, she's gonna strafe this way. She needs to strafe this way, but you're dodging out here, and you're baiting them. And what that gives you is like it buys you enough time for you to get another slide, and then by then you're safety.
We just talked about this on the Hattie episode, this exact concept of not always sliding your team, not immediately going to your team and stacking on your team, because that's what's predictable. Right? Or like you said, like I have like a bias towards going to my team here. If I go to my team, I would have died.
What we take away from these last two cases, this one being a positive case where we probably did something unintentionally, and then the other one where it's like kind of inting, but trying to get a kill. Move more intentionally. Think about how you're strafing, how you're dodging, instead of just like trying to play like completely evasively. Because if it's better if you know what you're doing with your movement instead of like praying that you're not going to get hit. Okay, so this is now where I kind of have the most control because this is stuff that is directly Kovac and aim training relevant. So this was a weird fight, and it could have ended very poorly as a start, since he already got another kill. What happened here?
I have ears. Oh, but I don't have hands. I mean, no, I heard him on top of me. I know that he knows that I'm alone, so I'm predicting that he's gonna go fight me.
As an aim coach, we like to pick apart some of these moments that, like, even though you won the fight, it could have been really bad. Both of these shots were kind of, like, not really well timed, and also, you got you really low. You also got the health back. So generally, what we talk about in aim training here is, okay, you heard him coming down. Notice where your crosshair is going. You're going back and forth over his actual hitbox. We call that over aiming. And I'm sure maybe you've seen like talks about like this idea of edge tracking in KovaaKs. Edge tracking is KovaaKs is basically when you intentionally place your crosshair on the following edge of a target of their movement direction.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Really what this is an application of like the reverse, which is under aiming. And all this is using the minimal amount of motion possible to aim and to kill on the target, to sustain your crosshair on the target. What's your sensitivity and DPI in game?
4 cents, 800 DPI.
All right, that's around mid-range. Are you an arm aimer or are you a wrist aimer?
I'm an arm aimer, especially recently.
Arm aimer.
I'm trying to be a arm and also like fingertip. You know, I'm trying to fingertip aim.
So given your sensitivity and the fact that you're an arm aimer, I think you might know what I'm going to say. A lot of this movement, like crossing over the target, not knowing where they're going, what this does and why it's bad is this guy has a specific sort of his own bias. He's going to go down here. You probably just want to get the health back first. And he's going to go to the right and roll to the right. All these animations are basically just their tells where the target's going to go. But there's no way that you're going to be able to see these animations on your screen unless you have a freaking 1000 hertz OLED monitor moving your mouse like this. Whenever you see yourself doing this in future VODs or replays, try to think back. Was I using mostly my arm here? Is there any way that I could have been using less movement or use fingertips? Especially since he's on a vertical. You're down here, he's dropping. This adjustment could have just been done with just downward fingertip movement. If you're on my stream, see what I'm doing with my mouse? So that's all fingertip. Notice I'm not using like this is with arm, and you can cover a wider range of motion. This is the amount of like range that you have. I'm kind of gonna try to go a little bit rapid fire for this because it's pretty self-explanatory. This is another pathing thing. We know that we want to get out of this position at some point. We get that pulse bomb. So where do we want to be going here?
Did I choose recall before I went in on the Weaver there?
Yeah, you did.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, it's completely fine to push Weaver here. Like, I don't mind this. My Mog is using Shout. We have like a lot of picks we kill the tank, but instead of blinking directly into the Life Weaver, where 2 people can shoot me for free and I have no recourse, I should probably just blink to the right and play out of that room. I think going in is totally fine here, though.
So you were correct in going to the right here. I just think I take issue with how exactly you approach this from like geometric positioning and like awareness sort of thing. You heard this Cassidy here, and he was kind of moving towards this position. What I don't like is how we tried to go after this Weaver with our back turned to that position. The way that I would have done this is I would have strafed out almost like this, and I would have gone around him like this, and then blinked backwards into here once I realized that this guy was gonna hit some shots on me. We were full health, so you see how I'm like approaching this. I'm gonna come out like this and blink this way. You
Yeah.
don't need to like W key into him. You want to maintain vision of like all these targets and like play in a way that you're just gonna make it harder for them to deal with you directly strafing, because see how easy it was for him to land this shot.
Yeah.
You're not even paying attention to his movement. This is a simple thing, again.
Ooh, yeah, what happened?
So I would say this is more, again, of lack of fingertip aim.
Mm.
And you'll see this like a ton. This is, again, I think, animation reading that could give this away. I know his shot actually blocked your vision, but notice where his feet are pointing and how he's flying. If you notice that your crosshair is already behind the movement direction that the target reading gives, you need to take a micro. So generally with click timing, which is railgun, it simplifies everything down to a flick and a micro. And in this case, really it's more dynamic, so you're not really flicking here, but generally you still need to close this tiny little distance with a micro correction. And how you do that is fingertip, but this also should be smooth. So it's something that I see a lot of Sojourn players do when they're lining up rail is they will freaking jerk their crosshair in the direction, and then they'll click right after they take that movement. Don't flick. You don't want to think of this little motion here as a flick. Right? See how you like kind of shake your mouse almost in that direction?
Yes.
You don't want to do that. It needs to be a smooth adjustment. You want to take this way more calmly than you did.
Oh.
And that simplifies pretty much all of the Sojourn aiming that I see from players like this. Like they don't take it smoothly. They always flick, and I get so annoyed when I see it because they're just like whiffing and insanely easy shots. You could train it in like Vax there or something, but in my opinion, like literally the best way to train this is in specific scenarios for KovaaKs. Would you describe yourself as like a very tense aimer?
No. Why does it look like it?
I mean, you don't look like it. I mean, you just take way too many motions. That question will probably lead into like the recap. So improvement plan. I'm going to have us a warm-up routine for KovaaKs
Ooh, okay.
that encourages slightly stronger snappiness. So to answer your question, I don't think that you are very tense. You don't look rigid at all. All right, so that's the VODs. Do you have KovaaKs updated? I asked you to.
Yeah.
A key point with aim trainers is the idea of isolation. The more you kind of isolate your raw mouse control, the more you can actually focus on improving it. So you can picture like each of these moments as you needing to hit a railgun shot.
Okay.
And I figure that these targets will move similarly to mid-range, long-range. So part of the difficulty here is you notice how you're sometimes you're sometimes playing for the timing. You're playing always ahead of the target, right?
Yeah, I was watching you, I was thinking you play way differently than me because I will just let them walk into my crosshair.
Sometimes you will have the opportunity to plant your crosshair and wait for them. Sometimes you won't.
Right.
And you don't want to like waste so much of your time. You can watch my screen and see if you notice anything significant.
Okay. You're way faster than me.
Well, beyond just the speed, like think out loud. What do you notice
I mean,
about?
you're flicking out a target like way harder than I was. Like I'm kind of like putting my crosshair there like slowly, but I feel like you're going from one target to the next target immediately.
And in terms of like tension, doesn't it look as though I'm like flicking with my arm and everything.
No, it looks like you're just like, you know, should I be looking at your hand cam right now?
No, you can kind of just imagine it.
Nope, I can't do that. I'm sorry, not that it's like impossible, but like I'm just, you know,
I mean, you could go on my stream and find my hand cam too.
yeah, okay. Maddie, to me it looks like you're clicking on them. It's like very impressive. It's very impressive, but
So as I'm playing, there's two things I would like to point out.
uh-huh.
First thing is sometimes when I'm behind the target, I'm going to shift attention into my fingertips. And I don't know if that will be very visible on the hand cam, which is why I said like try to just envision it. But the reason I'm doing that is because I need to perform like a tiny movement. See, if I'm behind a target like this, I need to catch up, and I will flick. Not flick. I will do a small adjustment. I head into it. And that's what you're missing on that one M-Ray clip. Revolving tracking strafes easy. Type that into your search. Yeah. So you notice how like
This is hard for me. This is very hard for
what
me.
you're doing. You're like you're over adjusting in the direction that you're already moving. This is that Juno clip, and this is that sort of that Life Weaver clip. You can take a look at my screen.
What the hell?
No, you see the trick?
What?
Like, see, I can just like I am literally just adjusting in the opposite direction that it's moving every time, and then I don't need to move my mouse on. Sometimes I'm a little bit miscalculating, but that's the idea with like the Juno. You literally didn't need to move when you were fighting the Juno, and like even though it's tracking, right? You might think like, oh, doesn't that mean like I should be training this but for clicking? You don't need to train like strictly clicking for it. It's just this is the same thing as the reading, right? And eventually you'll get to a point where, yeah, it doesn't look like you're moving your mouse at all.
That's so weird.
You really aren't.
Yeah, I get it.
For this one, you don't need to play this. I'll just show it.
Okay, this is like the exact sort of scenario that I feel like was trolling me. Like this, I literally stopped playing KovaaKs because I was like grinding a bunch of these, and I could see my aim getting worse, but I couldn't diagnose why in the moment.
Don't pay attention down here.
Okay.
What you want to do is just aim realistically to how you would be like trying to line up a shot. So, for example, I'm going to try to mirror each of these targets. And if I'm hitting a wall, for example, like I can't move anymore here. So I need to like adjust my movement a little bit, and then I'll continue mirroring again. So I'm moving this target, right? And that's how you kind of want to be playing it. So you mirror, take your shot, you're mirroring, take your shot, mirror, take your shot, and then it forms a rhythm. A reason why your mechanics might have suffered when playing a scenario like this is because what if it's like literally like the first time that you're like really paying attention to how you're aiming and moving, and so that exposed a lot of the errors that you were seeing, and so you thought that you were.
That's a very interesting point.
And another thing, whenever I take a shot, I'm gonna change my movement direction.
Yeah.
And that keeps the rhythm going. And this is basically how I trained tons of hours on like Cassidy, Widowmaker, and I'm assuming like of course it would work for Sojourn, the Railgun. So I'm always trying to mirror. If I miss, I move on. Another thing, if you miss, just don't waste your time chasing after a single target. You have 4 shots, and you reload every time you hit. So just move on if you miss.
Okay.
Same thing for this one, Pat Strafe Diamond. This is like the modern quintessential tracking strafing scenario. What this should enforce is like, don't always anti-mirror either. Mix it in. I'm gonna anti-mirror this guy. I'm gonna mirror this guy. And then I'm gonna do diagonals too. I'm gonna mirror this guy. I'm doing diagonals.
Okay.
I'm gonna anti-mirror this guy. Like, you see, the whole point of the movement scenario is like to get you practice moving with all of these different strafe aim forms. You shouldn't be playing for score on this. And since you're not playing for score, and this is generally looked down upon in the leaderboards, but I can put on a skin. And look, now you can read animations.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you said this is looked down on in leaderboards. Why is that?
Because generally that instantaneous direction change, like given by the animation, it just makes it more obvious. Instead of like having to read that from just like the acceleration precision or the speed of the target, you just get that immediately from the feet. And
Which one do you think this way is like more beneficial, like to your
this is better
improvement?
for straight up in-game practice. Now we've been going for a while here. I'm gonna close it off by going back into Overwatch. Basically, this is called the recording studio. It's made by a Stray Framer, and what you do is you can record the movement, and he's gonna do it.
Now, what's the utility in doing this rather than just 1v1ing a friend?
1v1ing a friend will obviously be better. If you have anyone to do that with, you should do that.
Okay, so this is if you're a loser.
Yeah, this is if you're a loner loser.
Do you use this?
Yeah, I use this. So I would do this, like, for example, you can't just like tell your friend like, oh, copy this exact strafe pattern, and so I can get it into my memory arsenal. Like, this is more for like, I saw this exact movement in a match that I was playing, and I need to train it. Most people in like high GM and champ, they don't have good aim. I'm gonna be totally honest.
Wow, interesting.
You can easily get champ, especially if I got it with my brain completely turned off. It's gonna take patience, like I said, a ton of patience. You're gonna need to sit down and like actually grind a ton of these scenarios and actually pay really close attention to your aim. But if you do that, you're just automatically gonna have better mechanics than most of the people in gem. So if you're a pro player and if you're a content creator, I want to work with content creators. Reach out to voltaic.gg/coaching and you can sign up for the AMP program.
Okay.
But if you're a pro player and if you're in like the AWCS, just reach out to me and I can do the more structured version of AMP to you. That's over like several weeks and stuff. We do an 8-week program. There's 4-week programs. There's a lot more depth to aim training than what you probably have seen. You probably look up aim training. You probably see grid shot, tile frenzy, and tens and stuff. But like, there's so much more under the surface that can help your gameplay.
Okay, what if
So,
you're
yeah.
like just a random gold viewer? Is this service also available to them?
I would say if you're like a gold viewer and you're just like trying to get like the baseline better level of aim, play the playlist that I'm gonna upload right now. Play Sunshine's playlist. You know what goes into it now after watching the video, and tune into Viscos and my channel. Watch our guides, or play our routines and our scenarios.
Thank
Only
you for your
8
time,
scenarios.
Maddie. I really appreciate it. I will play this before ranked every day. I will look at my aim, and then I'll check in with you maybe like a month from now. I think that's like enough time, right?
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do like another update pod.
Ooh. Okay, sure. Thank you, bro. Have a good day. Bye.
Get champ.
Okay.